Oh, hey, we're back. So yesterday the plan was to do two more dev videos after I did the one with the destructible walls and stuff. Unfortunately, I got conned into going to the store in the middle of a monsoon, got rained on, got super cold, didn't get back to like 5. So by then, like the whole day was blown. But we're going to go ahead and do what we were planning on doing yesterday today. So we're going to work on the baggable entities mod. I'm going to skip the gas mask one. Instead of doing the gas mask mod today, we're going to do AI improvements and try to get it updated to the newest version. First things first is we're going to create the baggable plants or baggable mobs mod in 1.7, and then we're going to port it straight to 1.12. We're just going to skip every version between. We're just going to make sure we hit 1.7 because there's still a sizable player base. There's like a 30-40% player base still in 1.7, so we're kind of want to make sure we hit that up. And then everybody else is on 1.12 basically right now. So first things first, we want to go ahead and open up the project structure. You can go up here and do this up here, or you can click over here. I'm going to click over here because I'm trying to get in the habit of clicking that button rather than going through the file menu. So we're going to create a new modular, and we're just going to target the folder over here. Now what I went ahead did, I cloned baggable plants into the baggable mobs because the two are going to work identically. The only difference is a lot of the backend code is going to be ripped out and replaced, which is okay. It's kind of what we want. So we're going to go here and we're going to grab baggable mods. And cool thing is the name's already set up properly, so I'm all happy about that. So we do finish that. Then we just have to add the dependency of Minecraft, which is zdeps. Hit apply and check our sources, make sure our sources are correct. Our sources are not. Hit apply, and then like everything else goes goodbye. Okay. So that's good. So then if we go down in here, we should now have a new modular down here with the same name. And we come in here and we just literally got to start renaming everything. So we want to rename this guy to baggable mobs, of course. When you make a mod, by the way, you don't have to name your main mod class after the mod. It's just customary. For those who are always asking, why call it this or why call it that? It's how it's done. There's no actual reason why you have to do it that way. It's just it makes life a little easier if you make everything kind of roughly the same. And apparently this is actually spelled a little weird. Yeah, it always goes weird on this. I wonder if I've been misspelling baggable. I know, just baggable probably isn't a word in the dictionary. Actually, let's go check Google out real quick. Let's see if this is a real word and I've just been messing around and not doing everything. Because it feels like a real word. The ability to bag. It's an Urban Dictionary word, which tells me it's not a real word. Okay, so ignoring the Urban Dictionary reference. It's a company. It's a song. So I'm going to go away from that because I was reading the Urban Dictionary thing, and for those who caught it, yeah, that's the reason I don't like Urban Dictionary half the time. Is its dictionary references can be not nice. So we just want to change thing here. Just go BM mob bag. When it also comes to naming your stuff, by the way, you could pretty much name it whatever you want. The ideal is to try to give some kind of reference to what is the content. Actually, I think these have to be fully lowercase now. So let's go ahead and fix that. We don't need any of this stuff. We're going to change the recipe here. Instead of a bowl, we're going to do... I don't know, what are we going to do? Because we kind of want the recipe to be roughly the same. And a bowl was picked because that worked really, really well for what we were doing. But we need something else. I feel like a bucket would be a good replacement. Put like a baked potato just for lulz. Actually, you know what? We're going to do that. We're going to do something. We're not going to do baked potato, but we're going to do a carrot. Just because somebody will get a laugh out of that, and it'll be worth it. So we don't want any of this junk. We're going to want to change the reference name on this. Or not the reference name, but the date of creation. This is 7-11. Okay, so then we also want to get rid of the whole handler package because we don't need it. The only thing we need is a bag, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. We are going to need to know what we have stored. We are going to need some item usage. We're going to get rid of everything else though. I do need this stuff though. So I don't really need what's down here, but I do need that side system because that'll prevent us from placing mobs in walls and stuff. That'll make it really nice. We're going to need an encode system. We're going to need to get the state out of it. We are going to want to get rid of a lot of this other stuff though. Everything else can stay because it's pretty much the same exact system. Get the icon filled, get the icon string. We want to change our icon string from this whole mess to our actual name of our mod, which, you know what, we're going to fix this because the baggable plant one needs to be fixed as well, but I'm not going to fix it for the simple reason that I've already ported that mod to like every version, and it just would take so much time to go back and fix essentially a one-line mistake that should have been fixed earlier. Because when you're doing stuff, you always kind of want to store that domain because you're going to reference it at some point in some time, and it just makes your life easier to just have that same customary system where you hold on to the domain, you hold on to the prefix. Even if the reality of it is the newer versions don't use it as much, it's still nice to have. Because then what I could use, I could take this prefix, come over here, and then just do a concatenate, I can't do words. Add two words together is basically what I'm trying to say. I was just trying to attempt to use a fancier way of saying it, and we see where that got me today. But we'll put those down there, and that way our localization, our text names are the same. Then we can come up here into the langs, and I gotta delete the German lang because it's gonna have to be translated again. And then we just want to go and do everything. So we're gonna want to do, rename all this. So come up here, grab this guy, and redo all this. We're going to change this, and this is going to be monster bag. No, we need an interesting name for this. We can't call it monster bag because you can pick up anything with it. I'm going to literally let you pick up everything but a player, pretty much. So just I might make a tiering for this because I have a feeling like I should, just for balance reasons, make multiple different versions of the bag. But what we'll go ahead and do is we'll just do a very simplistic one. So this will just be called, we'll call it mob bag. Somebody will get the item and figure out what I'm talking about. So we're going to want to be able to get some data from this. Let's recode the here. So we want to do uncode, encode, and decode is what we want. The thing with decoding is, how do we pull the data back out in such a way that it actually works? So we want an encode method, but then we're going with something like get mob ID, which would be a string value we'll pass back. And then we're going to want to make sure we do a few other things here. So when we go to encode something, we're going to want to pass an entity in, because that's going to be the easiest way to encode it. And then we might make a second method for this here in a second that does a little bit better. I'm pretty sure there's a way to save an entity straight to the system and then recreate him back out of the same system. Is there a way to do that? Because then if we could just call decode, and then we could just pass back an entity. And what we want to make sure is that we do the same data system, and we're going to keep data there as well. Then you set the damage to 1 if it's that, but there's like an entity.write to MBT optional. Writes this entity to MBT tag given return true or false without doing anything. If this returns false, the entity is not saved to disk. If written entities return false here as they are saving with the writer, maybe we just want to call write to MBT. And then we want to chuck pause off, I think, is get rid of that. I think we just do that. We can do read from MBT, but then how do we recreate the entity? Copy data from. That's not what we want. So we want to know how this saves. So there's a save handler. Read player data. That's not what we want. So I'm trying to guess how we gonna make a system to recreate the entity properly. There's mod spawner logic. A lot of funny little bits here. So there's a right to optional. There's a lot of little bits here that I have this feeling we're going to have a problem with. So we're going to want to save the MBT. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tag for this. MBT tag compound. And we're going to save the tag as data, by the way. So we're going to go, okay, bag.get tag compound.set tag data, and then we're going to put the tag in there. That way we can do a whole bunch of stuff here. And of course we want to make sure we change the metadata after that. But then this gives us the ability, so we can save the MBT tag as one tag, and then if we need to come back in here and we need to do other things, so like write MBT, and then we pass in new MBT tag compound. I think we just do it that way and it will work. Nope, can't do it that way. So we're going to need another MBT tag. So we're going to need MBT tag compound entity save equals new MBT tag compound. Do it this way, pass in the entity save, then we want to save the entity save as the MBT, and then we're going to want to save the ID. So I'm going to go, actually I want to change this too, so I'm going to go tag.save, save MBT, save load ID. Because we're going to need a way to turn this entity back into its proper type. So we're going to need tag.setString, that means entity.get, I don't think we do it this way. Well, we needed to go like save ID. Entity list dot get entity strings, I think is what we need. So I think the entity string is like a registry name, because you come down here and you go down here and go add mapping, and then like item is an item. And that'll do a whole bunch of things. We're going to need to create a blacklist of things you can't stick in a bag, by the way. Like arrows can't go in a bag, snowballs can't go in a bag, fireballs, small fireball. Anything that's a projectile, we won't let it put in a bag. Anything that's an item can't be put in a bag. Actually, you know what we'll do? Anything that's not entity living base can't go in a bag. That will just save our life dramatically. That also means you can't pick up like things like item carts and stuff. So this will work. And we set the tag in there. So we go, okay, if you don't have data, then you're going to return null. If you do have data, then we have to reconstruct everything. So we want string save ID equals bag.get tag compound.get get tag data. And if we actually want to get compound tag. And then we want to get string save ID. So this will let us create the entity. This is where a lot of testing is going to have to come into play. This is where we're going to have to do a lot of double checks. There's going to be a lot of little security things that are going to have to be done to prevent this from crashing. Because the big problem is, even if we make it work for vanilla mobs, there's going to be that one mod developer that screws up his mod, and he's going to crash. And I know this is going to happen. I'm not making accusations versus people either, but I've guaranteedly had that happen in the past, and it will happen again. And okay, we'll go save. Actually, we're just going to call this MBT. So we do the same thing, and we grab this, and it'll work. By the way, when doing references this way, it doesn't really change much of the speed if you call this really long straight line. It's a hash map. It runs pretty fast. So MBT. There we go. So we got both of those. Entity list dot create entity by ID. Create entity by name. Oh, there's a create entity from MBT. We're gonna try this guy first, because I think I can pass the MBT in. And I need a world too, so this will have to. Yeah, we'll have to pass a world in for this. Although I don't think world is actually used, so let's take a look at this. This might be one of those methods where like you never see world ever used. Actually, it is used because it's used to fire the constructor off. Although an entity can be null, so it's not like it will break. Entity doesn't equal null. Return entity, I believe. We'll leave the save ID there, so we're not going to do anything with the save ID right now. But what we might do is, like, if this fails and we come back through and go, like, hey, it failed to decode, or failed to do this, failed to do that. This is where we get to do fun things up here, is because we need information. And this is something the save ID could be used for, is where we go up here and we go, okay, here's what's in the bag. Well, this is going to be interesting because I need a way to determine what we have and what we don't have. So the first thing to do is we need to make sure, do we have something in the bag? So we go, okay, boolean is empty, and that is how we're going to do that. Let's put it back here because I want to just make all my code consistent. So we go, okay, is empty, and this is kind of how the bucket works, by the way. It's the same kind of style. So is empty, and then we run our code. So we pick up our mobs. This is our pickup mob code, and this will be place mob code. And there needs to be a whole bunch of else statements here because that's what really should be right there, and it's not. Clean that up. It's not going to clean up either. Sometimes IntelliJ likes to reformat, sometimes it doesn't. So this is going to get our placement position. This is where we would actually create the entity. So we go entity equals decode bag, and we pass forwarding. And we go, okay, if entity doesn't equal null. By the way, we would always return true down here, just because we're consuming the action. So no matter what we do, this action is going to get consumed. Entity doesn't equal null. And this stuff needs to be server-side. So is remote is client, and then not remote is server. So server-side only. And what we're going to put down here is we're going to go, okay, if player.add chat message, new chat component translated, if I can pull it off. There we go. And this would be get localized. Error, failed to create entity. And I believe with this I can pass in that magical save ID of ours. So we have that save ID, which we're not using, which I'm actually just not going to put there. Actually, no, I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to comment it out, because the compiler is going to get rid of it anyways, because it's going to go, oh, that's not used, and it's going to go, oh, yeah, I don't need you anymore. What we can do up here is we can go, okay, there's our save ID, and we can go, okay, if is not empty, save ID. If not, well, it's null. That way we have access to the save ID. Actually, you know what, we probably should put this down here because logic. If we're going to be empty or not empty, we might as well run code down here instead, and I hit the insert key instead of hitting the delete key. So get rid of that, get rid of that. So we have our save ID now. We're going to put it up here just because, well, that's how we're going to do it. We're going to make it final because it doesn't change. But with the save ID is what we can do is we can come all the way down here and put the save ID down here. Theoretically, there's a way with the translations where you can set them up so that way this now becomes part of your translation. And somebody can go, okay, this such and such failed. And I don't know any other language to do this. Like, you like no comprehend save ID. I need to learn more languages. I'm trying to learn Spanish and German, but every time I learn it, like 2 weeks later, I forget it. The only thing I'm good enough with is I can stare at a sentence in both those languages and I can get the gist of it. But I can't speak it off the top of my head because I just can't remember the words. But then again, I have the same problem with English too, so I forget the words and it's my native language. Code, on the other hand, I don't seem to have as much of a problem. Could have like some kind of brain disorder where code works for me and then the normal linguistics don't. But so we get our thing here. So this is actually translates based on side clicked. This will prevent stuff from being put in a wall. Prevents mob placement in wall. That's the same thing the bucket does. So what the bucket does is you right click a side of a block and it pulls it out from the block wall. Really useful. I do logic server side. To be honest, we probably, yeah, let's take this guy here and let's put it all the way up here. And then do that. Then actually, you know what? Leave that there. Delete that guy. Delete this guy. Put that there. And we're just going to return true no matter what you click with. That way, it works out rather well. Yeah, additionally, what we're going to do with this is I'm going to make it so you have to sneak to release a mob. So if it's, oh, apologies for the dog. The dog is going spastic for whatever reason. So we got is empty. So normal right click will pick a mob up, and then we'll go, okay, if player.is sneaking is how you're going to release it. This will prevent people from mistakenly like letting mobs out and stuff. It'll help. It'll also mean that you can right click a chest and it would technically let you open the chest and stuff, which is also really useful. Which means technically I want to take this guy and I actually have to get rid of this again. So it's as you sit there and you think about your code, you just kind of go, oh well, we got to still do this, because if we return true, you can't open a chest. So we actually want to come down here and we want to return true only if it's a mob. And then we want to also just return true no matter what down here, because we want to make sure that if you're sneaking, well, it works. And then to save ourselves some trouble, we can go is world.isRemote. So we can pull like a Minecraft here and just put a tree statement up here, which will save ourselves a little bit of effort. So it won't run all the code below us. And we want to, you know what actually is the problem with this? Is I can't use this code. Because this is only on right click of an entity. So you know what? I think this code is worthless actually. Let's do is empty. So get rid of this stuff. It doesn't equal, okay, we want to do entity.setPosition x.y.z. Make sure our entity is actually sitting in exactly the spot we want to do it. And then entity.onGround equals true. This will, in case you caught a flying entity, you won't die on impact. And no, so the method I'm looking for is world.spawn entity in world. So that's what actually places your entity in the world. This is just going to extra stuff. And then on top of this, we want to put a whole try catcher on this. Catch, exception, E. Oh, that's right, that reminds me, my brother had a job interview today. So that's what my dog was barking at when my brother was leaving. Error.unexpected. And then what we'll do is we'll go e.get message. And of course you do your standard e.print stack trace. So this will tell them like error, unexpected error with this message. You go like a null point exception or something. It really won't help the user, but it'll tell them like something did break. So it'll go, okay, unexpected error produced while placing entity, report this to an admin, error message, that is what it'll turn into. And actually, let's go ahead and put that in here. So it'll be, you grab this guy and it'll be error. So we're actually going to do a generic error. It'll just be error. And we'll do error.unexpected. Unexpected error while performing action. Report this to your admin. or directly to the mod developer. And we can put like a GitHub link and everything else in here. So, and then I believe you just do like error message, and I believe it's %1. I think it's how it works. We'll test that in a second. What was our other error message we have? We have failed to create entity. And then the other message would be, we just put this here, and grab that. Failed to create entity from saved data. Entity save string, and then I believe it's %1. So that should work. That should give us some information, so that way we have some protection in case things do fail. Entity should be spawnable. Now we need to do the actual code for a few other things, and additionally, what I want to do is come up here and put this up here, do this, change this to the back. So we go, okay, if is empty, and we do our translations for information first real quick. Save ourselves a little bit of time. I forget how you're supposed to translate things without the libraries. I think it's I18in. So we're going to go list.add I18in dot format. And of course, we're going to do the same thing. We would get unlocalized name dot info dot entity, and then we pass in save ID. And then we do the same exact thing if it's empty, except we just go, well, info empty. Info dot empty. I think this will work. This doesn't feel like this is the same way we did it with the last mod, so actually we can pop open Baggable Plants and we take a look at how I did the translations for this one. So handle, oh yeah, we did through all the handlers. So let's take a look at one of the handlers. There's a vanilla handler. Yeah, this uses stat collector.translate, but I believe stat collector is deprecated in the newer version. But we're going to go ahead and use it anyways because, well, it doesn't really affect anything. So we'll put it here. Oh, you get a bonus out of this. So I'm going to actually leave that there because I think this doesn't work. And I don't see any reason why not to do it. So we're going to pop back over here, grab this guy, and then we want to, right below it, because we want the info to be near the top. So in info.empty equals empty, and then info.entity equals entity, and then %1. And then of course we're going to want info.count in case you have more than one in there. So it'd be count %1. We'll optimize this later as we get it working. But this all looks good. So the next thing we need to kind of do is one, we actually need some icons for this, for starters. And then we want you to change this. This is 7/11. And then we need another method. So we want on entity, on left click entity. No, that's not what we want. On entity swing. No. On entity item update, no. On item first use, maybe. This is what I think we want to use. This is called when the item is used before the block is activated. So that's not actually what I want to do. There is a method in here that when you right click an entity, it will fire. So there's item use action. It's not what we need. On created, on updated. Speaking of which, on updated, we're going to have fun with this later. I'm going to put this up there. So there is going to be a chance that entities can escape from the bag. It's going to be a config option to help balance out the mod a little bit. I'll put that in there later. And we'll do this to do you add optional feature to have mobs escape the bag. This will mainly be for hostile mobs, by the way. maybe, I don't know. We'll add a per mod config and people can decide how they want to handle it. So there should be, oh yeah, item interaction for entity. Right here it is. It just named really weird. Okay, so we got bag. Of course, I'm gonna come through and like rename all this stuff. And this is, I believe, slot. And I think this is held. And this is player, of course. Ah, this only works on entity living base anyways, so it wouldn't matter even if we wanted to do a few other things. I have a feeling like there's a way to do this. We could ray trace it. Like here's hidden. Current implementation of this method is a child class and do not use. Okay, so that doesn't do anything. On Eden, on right click. So here's the thing, if we can't get this to work, on right click is another option. On right click is called anytime you right click, no matter if it's errors or whatever. It'll work. And then that doesn't have any name for it. And more documentation. And we're at the top of the class file. Okay. So we want to use interaction event here. So we're going to want to return. Actually, we want to return false by default, but we want to go okay is empty. We go okay is empty. And then of course we go okay to do blacklist check. You always want to make sure you add some kind of like list system here to make sure that there are certain things you can stick in the bag and certain things you can't. Like you don't want a wither in there, you don't want an inner dragon, so we want to make sure by default any boss like mob can't be put in there. What we're going to actually do with that is we're going to make a method down here called public boolean can capture, and we'll pass in entity living base. And then we'll just make a list of things that you can't capture right now in here. So this will be entity, we'll shorten this down so I can type it quicker. We'll return true at the bottom. We'll go okay if entity is an instance of entity player. You want to return false. Return false. Or entity is an instance of iBoss, I believe this is. iBoss display data. Can't capture bosses. That should grab the wither and the thing for us. I can't think of anything else we want to make sure that doesn't go in the bag at the moment. Just players is the main thing, because even though I kind of want to add the feature where you can capture a player, I'm going to leave it off until I figure that one out later, because there is going to be some problems with doing that. There's going to be a lot of problems with doing that. It's most likely how I'll have to do that is I'll have to turn the player invisible completely, like make them stop rendering, turn their collision box off, then hook their camera up to basically the other player's camera so you can see what he's doing, and then put some kind of overlay on it so you can barely see through the camera or something. And to be honest, it may be something I might not do. So we go is empty and can capture. And then you'll pass in entity here. And this is where we'll actually put we'll put the blacklist down here, because blacklist, whitelist, whatever you want to call it. So with this down here, and this we'll run it through this method. That way we can piggyback APIs and all kinds of other stuff in here. We don't have to like mess with this method every time we want to do this method. And then if we have a can capture failure, we can have any bag in the player's inventory automatically empty itself, which would be detrimental, but could work. So we got the can capture thing, so we go, okay, are we empty? Can we capture it? Then we just want to flat out return true. And then we want to then go, okay, is, so we go, oh, there's not a world here, so we go player dot is remote, so we'll have to actually grab the world from here. Then we're going to need to encode the entity, which means we're going to need to try catch. And the reason we're doing a try catch is so that way if things break, we don't blow the game up in the process. Just copy this little thing down here. So error unexpected, so anytime we have an unexpected error, it'll pop up here and it'll go like, oh, well, it broke. And actually with that message, so let's go back to our language file. So unexpected error while performing action, see console for details. And then we want to actually fix that. Report error to your admin or directly to the mod developer. Admin, moderator, if I can spell moderator, or directly to mod or developer. Yeah, that'll work because that'll cover my bases there. So we get the interaction, and we just want to encode it real quick. So let me go. How can the bags stack? I think they can. So what we want to do is we actually want to item stack equals bag.copy stack.set stack size. Or stack size equals 1. There's no set stack. In the newer version, there actually is a set for it now, but it's called count, and there's a whole bunch of other things. We also want to do bag.stack size minus, and then player.inventory.detect, or it's actually inventory container, I believe. Detect instant changes. So this is our update stuff. So this is update, and we only want to update if we don't crash. Because if we crash, then no biggie. We haven't done anything. But if we get past it and we haven't crashed, and we want to we don't want to do that. Oh, I hate when this happens. Because what we want to have is we want to make sure that anytime we break the game, for whatever reason, we want to have it reversible, but there's no actual easy way to do that. So I'm just going to put it down here. So we this is copy. This is update inventory. And then we want to go encode stack, and then we want to do the entity. And if that doesn't crash, then we want to go player dot, should be like an add. Actually, it's inventory. Add item stack to inventory stack, and there's a method for this, by the way, so you can put like this. And what this is, what I'm doing here is with the not check, is then if it doesn't work, you want to go player dot drop item with random chance. That way, if your inventory is full, it drops. And I believe they just put a false here, maybe. And the only time we should ever get a thing on here is when the player inventory is empty. So we go encode, and we go add to inventory. And we don't have to add special conditioning for creative mode players because you're changing the item stack in the process. So there's no special handling. So this will be code item. And then encode shouldn't have a return on it. Yeah, it doesn't return. So this is all we need to actually pick up the mob, I think. So let's go ahead and test it. So let's get into one of the, actually hold on, we need to edit one of the world settings here. So project structure, Minecraft client to dependencies, and we need to make sure we add this to the dependency list. That way we can test it. And then we go debug, and we want Minecraft client 2, I believe. Or is it, I think it's a light client is actually what it is. I think Minecraft client 2 is a copy of one that has a different username on it. So I can test mods that require multiplayer. Okay, this should load. It'll take a second or two because there's a lot of mods in here. What I'll do is on next run, I'll edit and I'll strip it down to just this mod. This should work. So we should be able to right-click an entity and pick them up. Ah, you know what we also forgot to do? So once we do all this, we then need to do player.world.remove entity. And we had a JUnit test failure. What failed? Test search. Test files.search. Uh-huh. That failed solely because, well, we're running something we shouldn't be running. Okay, I guess since we're in here, what I want to go ahead and do is with this, I'm going to go strip everything out. And, oh, I didn't want to strip that out. So I'm going to go ahead and add Z-depths back in there because I didn't want to remove that. And then we're going to throw in just the baggable plants mod. But yeah, the reason that JUnit test failed though is because we're running the unit tests for the entire system, while at the same time not having access to the entire system. Run, debug. There we go. So it tried to load up the test files for one of the apps I'm working on, which does a search system, and the test files didn't load with it. So it's like, oh, well, I can't test this thing. That's why, well, you don't have the test files, that's why. What I should probably do is I should make the test ignore itself if it doesn't have access to the test repository. Actually, I should probably just flat out remove that app from my workspace because that's something that should be worked on by itself without every other mod in here. There we go, so this is all loaded up. And let's create a new world and we're just going to call it Baggable Mobs. And that's a survival world. Mistakes were made. Can I out myself? Nope. Okay. Sad thing is we have all the mobs around us. Now I'm going to go recreate this, and they're not going to be there. This is what's going to happen to us. So, click creative mode before we make the name, and then we create the world. See what I say? Like, we had all the mobs around us, and not a single one now. Okay, here's our plant bag, which is still named plant bag for some reason. That doesn't sound right. Hopefully this is the right mod we just threw in there. Hold on. Project structure. Nope, we threw the wrong mod in there. Fun times, right? Actually, we'll leave both those in there because I need to work on the baggable plants mod some more. But go ahead and save and quit, and we gotta load again. There we go. That'll work this time. Less mistakes. More progress. Cross our fingers it loads the first time. I don't have to go fix anything. Shouldn't really have any problems because it's literally just a 2-class mod. Although I'll probably end up adding interaction handlers to this later to special handle certain mobs and entities and a few other things. Because I guarantee somebody's like, hey, well, I have this fire mob. Can you make it catch the bag on fire like you do with your buckets? I'm like, yeah, sure. But that requires special handling. That's the reason why you see interaction handlers in a lot of my mods. It's so I can special handle things. Okay, so we got the wrong bag this time. And I do have like new updated textures for these. So why are they both called bag plant? Because I changed the localization, didn't I? Yeah, so right there's a local. Oh, that's why it's called the same thing. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Because your domain name is baggable mobs. Okay, refractor, rename directory. There we go, that should fix that. Something's not right with this. They're both called baggable plants. And we're pretty sure I edited everything here. What package are we in? Oh. Mistakes may or may not have been made. No, wait, I didn't rename the package. Okay, so I'm going to restart this again. because something is clearly wrong, and it's lagging out when I'm trying to rename packages. Rename directory, factor. Yeah, so we got the mod IDs domain, which is baggable mobs. Of course, I renamed the package now. Mod name, mod name, mod name, mod name. It all looks good. Yeah, everything looks good. We're in the correct localization file now. Okay, let's take a look at project structure. Yeah, both of them are in here. And then let me, while we're at this, I'm gonna go update the textures for backable plants because I had asked Morton to go ahead and update them for us because he finally showed back up, which I'm so happy about. He went through and he made a whole bunch of single blocks textures for us for the curse page, which I'll go pop up real quick. Drag over here. So he went ahead and went through here, and oh, we got like 11 notifications. Does this mean the legend is alive? People are so happy about that mod, but yeah, so we actually have like a whole bunch of new icons, which, I mean, they don't look amazing. We actually are trying to get some animated icons for a lot of these. So if we go down through here, we got a whole bunch of new icons for all the packages and pages. And he's working on some ones for the actual other mods, so that way they look a lot nicer. And I'm talking to him about getting some customized Atlas banners now. So we have this generic one, which was made by Green Cafe for us. We use this on everything, though. But the ideal is I want to get one that's half the height and is not as obvious with the Atlas logo. Even though I really want to support Atlas, it's like you open a page and say you're on a monitor like really small like this. And you open this up, like, especially if you're on your cell phone, that like takes up a huge section of the page, and you want to not have that happen, because we want to see this down here. So this needs to be more prompt up there, so you know that there's a page there, and you know there's a whole bunch of information, and you see the rest of the nice looking page, and not this ad up here, which looks okay, but is not what we need it to be, and we need something more customized. But anyways, going back to the fact that we have icons. So we go Minecraft, requests, and he's working a whole bunch of stuff. So he's working on redoing a lot of the bases for a lot of our ingots and everything. So we're going to have a little bit better colorized ingots here soon. Theoretically, that's what's going to happen. The reality of it is, well, he has a tendency to disappear on us. Oh, by the way, here's the GIFs we were talking about. So we got an actual GIF now. So it rotates. This actually does work on the curse page, but only if you click the icon. It does not seem to naturally transition. And I don't know what's actually causing that, but we want to start getting GIFs because they look cool. And it kind of shows off the fact that a lot of this stuff is animated and actually has features and everything. But which one are we looking for? So he's got some base textures he's working on. He's working on a lot of things here. Let me get this prompt out to here. So he's got base textures. And what we were looking at is baggable plants, which looks like he just redid both of those. Let me get the size popped up to extra large in here. Oh, that didn't help us a little bit. So we got better bags now, and he said he's going to work on this a lot more and get it where it looks kind of different. But we got these guys now, so we're going to go use both of these because they do look better. The bag that we are using comes from, I forget where I got it from, but I took the picture and I edited it heavily and resized it and cleaned it up. And I got it from another project I was working on I don't remember the name of. But we want to pop over here, go back to here. So I've been kind of wanting to get new textures for this, but getting Morton pinned down to where he wants to do work for me is really hard. And I've offered to pay him to do the work too, and it's like he doesn't really care for that. He just does work when he wants to. So here's the baggable mobs, which we're going to leave with the current texture set. And then we're going to come up here, and we're going to redo these textures. Replace destination. That way we got a much lower detailed texture. And then what I'll do is I'll ask him to make another set of these textures that look different, because we don't want something that looks exactly the same. I like consistency in my mods, but there is a problem when your stuff is too consistent. When you have two things that do look identical, you will have confusion, because simply having a different name on an item doesn't help. You have to have things that are visually different and potentially color differences too, but although you don't want to focus just on colors, because you will have people that two different colors look the same. And that's like exactly what things you will look at me, for example, where I have trouble seeing different shades of red. Yeah, those work. Okay. And we should be able to go ahead and launch this up, and we should get a good result. And I'm going to go, while that's doing that, figure out why I just got email spammed. Can I do this? No, that's going to block the whole screen. Pop that. Ah. Okay. Oh. That's just several different companies telling me that they just extracted money out of my bank account. Ah, bills. Bills are fun. Especially when you're not really making money. Speaking of, this is a great time to point out that we do have a Patreon. I'm going to get a little better about the whole Patreon thing here. Make it less obvious, but still have a Patreon here, still not making squat for dough. I'm still happy with the people that are donating, so claps for those. They know who they are, they can share. Yeah, but Patreon. I'm actually going to be tossing a whole bunch of design drawings up in here again over the next couple days as we talk about more and more mods that are going to be built. And there's a potential possibility that the Let's Plays we do are going to be posted on there early before I'm done editing them everything, and you guys can watch the raws and then I'll edit them and then everybody else can see the normal version. That's something I'm considering doing for the Patreon people. I'm trying to reward people that are on Patreon as much as possible because of the fact that it is your guys' hard-earned money that you are using to help support me. Anyway, so there's the bag. Let's go test it real quick. Yeah. Another thing, I do need to work on this a lot heavier too, because I want to make this work like it's a mobile inventory like a lot of other mods do, and you can pick up, like, say, a whole bunch of flowers and stick in here. Why are reeds like all the way on this page? I know they're like a resource, but they feel like they should be on the decorative page. I definitely need to take some time and make a mod that just lets you redo the creative tab pages. There we go. That worked. Place it back down. And because I'm in creative mode, I can repeatedly place it. And I can continuously place it up in the sky. Now we can just keep doing this. This is, by the way, why I made this mod, is for creative mode builders to do this, as well as I needed a way to pick up certain plants that were silk touch only. So that works out really well. Actually, you know what? I don't have Tinker support. That's something we should add here later. Add Tinker support. But by the way, it shows what you got in there and everything. And we're going to do the same thing with the bag here. Although I kind of hope we get a little nicer bag. And it worked. Formatting error. I like it. So I have to go figure out how in the world you're supposed to format these. But we can pick these guys up. And we can't place them back down. Why are you not? Failed the creativity. Well, we got no exceptions or errors or anything, so we didn't break the game, but it's not placing down. Formatting's not working as well. I don't remember how you're supposed to do formatting. I have this feeling like you're meant to do like S than a number or something. Actually, how are you supposed to do this? Format message. String.format. Also, you do the same thing you do with the string format system. So hop over here and go Java string format. So if it's the same style, then you do the same exact thing as you would do. So it's %s is how it works. Okay, so that means we want to go to our localization. And this is %s. I think that's how it works. This would actually be present. Nah, we'll do %s on that one. And we'll just come over here to our localization. And then make sure if we pass a number in, that it works. So we are not placing things. So we're getting down. So we got the encoding. So the encoding process seems to work. It's the decoding process. Well, we haven't confirmed the encoding process works, but the decoding process is definitely not working. So we didn't get a break line there. Oh, because I need to reload. Because I changed the line number by like 1. So get into here. So we got our MBT data. Comes into here. So it's looking for an ID number. And what did it find? Well, it didn't find anything. So it's going string to class map.get ID. So ID isn't being saved. So it is the encoding process that is failing. So we have now confirmed that. So somewhere up here in the encoding, we're not doing what we should be doing. So we are saving the MBT, so we're running the MBT. But does ID get saved anywhere in this set? And it doesn't look like it does. So I need to go figure out, is there... There's write to option. Oh, here we go. Write to optional is what we want. So I guess we wanted write to optional first time. Confusing it is. Not straightforward though. The only thing with the write to optional system is that technically you can return false to say you don't want it to save, which is not what I want. So I might circumvent this whole system and just do this. Because then we can go entity.get entity string and then just encode. Actually, let's do it that way. The problem is how do we do this in such a way that we don't mess up? Because we want to be able to recreate the entity. And what happens is if we come over here and then some mod decides to override this and does a whole bunch of funky stuff in here. And this is what it expects to see being called. And there's a write mount to MBT. Calls an abstraction helper method to write extra data. Yeah, here's write entity to MBT. So I think we can circumvent this and we just say, okay, write MBT optional is not something we want to call. So then we just need to save ID to the MBT stack. So after we do this, we're going to call entity save. And then we wanted to set a string, call it ID, and then it's just literally entity.get entity string, which is pretty nice actually. Get is entity ID. Why can't I access entity string? Is entity string like an internal method? It's protected. It is entity list.getString though, so we just need to grab save ID, which we are keeping separately because well we're using it separately. That'll work. Does mean we are saving this twice, but could be worse. Okay, so that means these two items are broken, even though we did just murder pigs in order to test that. I mean, they were going to get turned into bacon anyways, so I don't feel bad. Okay. That worked. Worked. Cool. Yay! Piggies. I can spawn pigs for days. Okay, I shouldn't be so happy about that. Okay, so now we just need to test this on other mobs. So let's go find some more stuff. Probably shouldn't be exploring to do this. Actually, you know what? Can we find some squids? Like, squids always like to spawn. Right, there's one. So this would be a great way to test this as well, because somebody might want to do like a squid farm or something, even though I think these guys despawn naturally, so that might not be like a cool idea. Squid. So what we'll do is, since this is a functional thing, I'll go ahead and update this to 112 here in a bit, and go test it on all the creator server. And once I confirm that it is functional, we'll probably release it here Friday. So Wednesday they are planning on updating all the creator servers, so you'll probably get to see it in one of my Let's Play videos. With the actual content. I'm going to go run around and be picking stuff up that I shouldn't be picking up with this, like silverfish, because silverfish are awesome. Though we do have one more piece of content to do with this, is I want to be able to stick multiple mobs in the same bag. This is how you crash a server, by the way. Pick up a chicken. And of course what we're going to do with the bags, by the way, is when I get Morton's attention here, is we're going to make custom icons eventually. So So we got all that going. Still got the formatting error, but we'll fix that later. So far, so good. I mean, the only thing we really need to test now is like actual monster eggs. And then I do need to check a few things. Like I think we're saving entity IDs, and we really shouldn't. We should make a new entity ID every time. That works. That's a bit loud too while I'm at it. Okay, so now we want to test things like villagers. Because I know definitely somebody's going to use this for a villager. And you're now in my bag. On top of this, let's get out of the game mode and we'll see if it actually decodes. Okay, so we're not resetting the bag. We forgot to do that. So let's go ahead and fix that. So on item use. So if we place a guy down and we don't get any breakage, then what we want to do is bag.stackSize minus. And then we want to go ahead, actually also we want to do this check as well. So we go, okay, if player.capabilities is creative mode. So if you're not in creative mode, we want to consume the bag, and if you're in creative mode, we want to leave it alone because there's guaranteedly somebody wants to keep their extra magic bags. You know what? Ender Eye should be something we should stick in this as a recipe requirement. You know what? I'll leave server owners up for that one. I'll leave it super cheap because it's not meant to be a thing, and I'll just leave a notification saying, hey, if you guys really want to balance this out, go grab a mod that lets you actually do that. Okay, so we want to do item stack, new item stack, this. And then we're going to pass stack into there, and if it doesn't consume the stack, well, you get the point. So drop bag, consume bag. There we go. And what we should see happen as soon as I reload is it should consume the bag. And I did not. Oh, there it goes. I forgot to run detect and send changes. So we want to also after this go player dot inventory container dot detect and send changes. And then update player. Because we're running this all server side, and this is the best way to update a client side player instance. So that means if I do this and pick these two dum-dums up, no, come back. You're going to go into the bag. And I can place these both back down. So that works out really well. And let me go chase this zombie down. Come here, zombie. Get into the bag. And I now have a zombie. And he's now my pet. Who will now die in the fire. Okay. So it seems to work. So it means it'll work on just about everything, which means you can actually probably do something like this as well. You could grab a ghast. I do recommend that if you guys do plan to do like ghast and stuff in these bags when they are released, keep in mind ghast AI logic can be really laggy outside the nether. If you have too many ghast flying around out here, you can actually slow the tick rate of a server down slow enough that it can become a problem. This has to do with the fact of how the ghast actually pathfinds. It runs a collision box forward, so it'll put itself forward multiple times. It does it like I think 5 times to figure out if it can fly through an opening. And because we're out here in the opening, it'll be doing this everywhere because it won't find a single spot it can collide with, and it can be really, really laggy. The reason I know this is I made this little 1-cube iBot back in 1.2.5, and I used the ghast code in the process of making it because I couldn't figure out how to make a flying entity work normally because you can't just run normal pathfinding code because it's error blocks. And needless to say, about a dozen of them would lag a server out. And then I tested it with the ghast, with a dozen ghast as well, and it caused the same exact problem. So it turned out, yeah, it's a vanilla bug, or vanilla issue. So I assume you could pick up everything with this as long as entity based. We're going to have to do a lot more testing. And then let's go ahead and do a couple more things before we close this off. And that is to strip some of the data off of an entity. So we want to make a method for this. Public void clean MBT, MBT tag compound tag. And then we want to do this, and we want to go clean MBT, and we need to make it a static method, by the way. I don't know why these are static because it's probably was accessing them outside of this method set. Pass an entity save. And why the reason I'm doing this is there's things that are in here, like we don't want to save these guys. So we don't want the unique ID. We don't care. Well, actually we do care. Sorta. Maybe. We want to clear fire, air, pause. So we go, okay, tag.remove tag, pause, tag.remove tag. What else have we got here? Yeah, there's a lot of things you want to get rid of. So we pretty much, this whole piece here just needs to go away. So you got pause, their tags are actually uppercase. So you got pause, and we want motion, we have rotation. This is just gonna, probably should just make a helper for this of things I want to keep, but I don't want to get rid of everything because there are things you kind of just want to leave alone. How many more of these we got? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we get 9 more of these. So go ahead and place this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this, what this will do is, one, this will reduce the size of our save for our item every time you pick something else. And 2, this will get rid of a lot of extra stuff that we don't necessarily need. We don't need to know if the entity was on fire because we're going to assume like the fire is extinguished. So if you pick up an entity that's on fire, the fire is going to be gone. We don't need to know how much air he has because we're going to assume that he can breathe in the bag. We don't need to know if he's on ground because, well, we don't want fall damage happening. We don't need to know what dimension he is because we're going to be setting the dimension. So we want to get rid of that. We don't need to know, well, actually, invulnerability is a thing. We do want to do the portal countdown. Now here's the big issue. Do we want to keep the UUID? Because this becomes an issue is if I am spawning a monster with creative mode. So if I'm treating the bag as if it's a spawn egg, which is something you can do we keep the UUID? Because there is cases where this would be important, like if you're putting an NPC into a bag that actually has an attached ID system for another mod that might want to get the UUID. So this will be maybe with creative mode we want to get rid of the UUID and reset it or make a new one, or maybe it's already reset every time you load. I'm pretty sure it stays consistent. Everything else looks good. This should all turn to zeros. A lot of this should turn to zero, so we should be fine. I think what we want to do is we're going to make a new entity, unique entity ID. I'm trying to figure out how this is set though. So how is this made? Oh, every time the entity is created, it's going to do it anyways. Now, is there a way we can confirm if a UID is in use? Because you want to have a new random ID. Let's go back to the save function. So this is stuff we're going to go ahead and strip this out, and we'll probably strip more out here later. Remove unused junk from NPT. And then, so we'll go back to the save function, and I want to go scroll down to the read function. So there's a read function here. So it creates the UUID, but there's no confirmation if the UUID is in use. And there's a persistent ID. So raw legacy code vanilla added UID key this so older maps will convert properly. So this is an older system. Okay. So there's no confirmation if the UID is in use. And of course, if we go up here, and then I think it just, if we already checked this, but just UID, random UID. So we want this code, and hopefully I can change this. So when we create the entity, somewhere up here, on item use, right here. So when we create the entity, and we know that the player is in creative mode, or actually anytime we create an entity, we don't really, it just doesn't matter. We want to go and figure out if it's UUID in use. We want to go some kind of check for this. So we go if something, if not, then we go entity, unique ID needs to be something else. Dot set entity ID. So I believe it sets the unique ID. No, it sets the entity ID. And there's a unique ID, and then there's an entity ID. So it's entity ID, where are you set at? I want to see what your access is. Well, entity ID, okay, well, this is going to be fun. Yes, okay. Entity missile uses this as well, but that's for, I think, the tracking missiles. Okay, so every time an entity spawns, it gets a new ID, but we want to change its unique ID. How are we going to do that? Set unique ID dot get unique. So you can get the unique ID, and it's not a static value, so it can be changed. So we can reflectively mess with it. But how is there like a way we can confirm this? So let's go ahead and sit here and do a search here real quick. And let's see if there's some kind of registry where unique IDs are registered with. I'm not seeing anything. Tricky this is, because there's no easy way to do this. And the only way I have to do this would be to iterate over the entire map. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip the unique ID. Or no, I will keep it. It's just if the player's in creative mode, I kind of want to reset it. Nah, I'll leave it alone. So until the time when somebody comes to me and goes, hey, the unique ID shouldn't be handled that way, we'll have to do things. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and go to do figure out how to handle unique IDs being the same if creative spawned. So we'll put a note there saying that we know there's a bug there, and if somebody comes to the code and they start getting like raging at me like, oh, why is he doing it this way? And then they see that note, then they know I know it's an issue, and they don't get as upset at me, because it's simply not that I didn't know it was there, it's that I don't know how to handle the problem. It's best to be like upfront with people and just be like, yeah, I know it's a problem, just I don't know how to fix it. It's being worked on. The next thing we're going to do, since I've got that kind of sorted slightly, I mean, it's just a momentary, we want to put the count, like how many entities of the same type do we have. This basically changes how our code works, by the way. So we are going to need to change how encode works. So we're going to go actually make a new method. So public static mbt tag compound to mbt entity. So that way I can just take this whole piece of junk and take you, throw you down here, and then we just go to mbt entity. And what this lets me do is if our bag is not empty and we right click another entity, if that entity is the same exact type as our previous one, we want to see if we can just put them both in the same bag. That way we get more out of this bag than just a few different things. We also want to make sure we put some settings up here. So public static boolean allow, or actually we'll do it this way, int mobs per bag, and we'll say you can have 100, because that's what I'm going to set to for the moment. So you can have 100 entities in a single bag. And we'll of course make this configurable, because I'm going to have to. Somebody's going to bitch if I don't. And we'll do it per mob eventually, because if I don't, somebody will bitch. Because they'll be like, oh, but I want to stick like 50 chickens in the bag, but then I only want to do like 2 zombies and maybe like 1 wither skeleton. And that's the type of logic that I'm thinking of. So we want to come down here and we want to go, okay, if we're not empty, we have a certain way of handling it. And we want to go, okay, if can capture, because we want to make sure we can capture an entity. So you return false, we can't capture that way. Normal interaction will turn on and work. So if is empty, if not, then we want to change our behavior. So we have our bag, and we want to go, okay, we want to convert it to MBT. So MBT tag compound tag equals to MBT entity. So we're going to convert entity to MBT. And this is a tricky problem, because we have those unique IDs in there. We can't compare simple things. Because what I want to do is I want to go, okay, we got the new entity, and then we want the old entity. So we got the old entity, and this will be pretty much grabbing this guy, except we're going to call get. We got the data, so we'll go get compound tag, and then once again you'll call get compound tag, except it's the MBT this time. So then we have 2 MBT things, and you just basically go, okay, if new entity dot equals, I think equal. I'm pretty sure equals works on this. We can click this and it'll jump. Yeah, so it's 2, we can compare these two. So if the 2 are equal, then what we want to do is just grab the bag stack, and we want to just match them. So we're going to go, and we actually want to figure out how much our count is too. And we go if something. So we want to go bag.get tag compound dot get integer count is less than mouse per bag. And then of course if we get this, we can go, okay, if can't fit any more bags in there, and it'll just go, your bag is full. So go error full. And of course, we want to put some more info up here, so I'm going to go grab this guy, put this down here, info count, and then this is where we would do this. Probably to get tag compound, get compound tag data, and then we would get integer count. And that should work. So it'll tell you how many entities you have. And we come down here, and yeah, we're running the wrong thing here. So I'm going to get compound tag data. I'm going to have to probably rewrite this later, because this is not the way you're supposed to access data, and we have to do a whole bunch of null checks and sanity checks and things to prevent things. If like somebody comes through and edits the save data and messes up, you want to make sure your item is resilient enough to handle that. So we make sure these 2 are equal, and then we literally just, if we can do this, remove the entity from the world. And then we want to just increase the count. So this is actually what we want to do it this way. And this is actually what we do it this way, just to save a little bit of sanity. And then we would go bag dot get compound tag data dot set integer count, and then it'd be count plus 1. And that'll work, because then we just have to do detect and send changes, and of course other people do things, and it'll do its job. So this should function. Now this is where I'm just going to go ahead and strip the unique ID. So how we were saying, like, we want to keep it, but we don't want to keep it, and if we keep it, we're going to have to save the unique IDs separate. So we have to come down here and go to do save unique ID as list. Because then we want to make sure that we actually have something in there. And also we want to, if we are encoding this, so there's data, there's 2MBT. So then we would go bag.get tag compound.get compound data, set integer count. Definitely got to come back through and rewrite all this stuff here, but we're just doing it the quick and lazy way just to get this done for today. And then we'll come back through here and we'll beautify the mod and update everything, put some event handlers in here and make everything so smooth and really resilient to messing with stuff. But we want to make sure we go ahead and get rid of our save ID. So I'm just going to flat copy these guys. And then just come down here and clean them out. Because what this will do is if we don't keep unique IDs, it'll just break like compatibility with certain things. And if we break compatibility with certain things, then we come back here later. We also want to do this to do keep if possible. So we'll get rid of that. So that way, when we pick up an entity, the only thing what we should see in the entity when it's saved is like how much HP it has, what kind of like hair color it has, for example. So I'm pretty sure the sheep save what color they are, and a few other things. So we're actually going to go try that. I have a feeling like it's not going to work the first time. If it doesn't work, we're just going to call it a day. So because I have a list of other things I have to get done today, and I don't want to spend all day trying to make MBT tags compare with each other. Because what's probably going to happen is I'm going to add an interaction handler, and the interaction handler is going to go, okay, here's a vanilla sheet. Here's exactly what kind of data it should have on it, and just ignore everything else. Because everything else is going to be unique garbage produced by a mod that does something special like everlasting abilities, which just adds random abilities to a mob. You don't want to save those because then that gives somebody a chance to actually continuously spawn everlasting abilities on a mob and cheat that way. So that's something you want to get rid of anyways. You want to just kind of, the purpose of this mod is just going to be to collect animals really quickly just for the hell of it, because this is not going to be a mod somebody's going to throw seriously into a pack to do things. I'm just making it so I have something like a MFR net and I can just pick things up with it. So there's one more thing I got to do, and that is right over here. So instead of consuming the stack size off the back, we got to consume the count. So we do int count equals, and we have to get the count off of this. Will be this long string. This is where I'm talking about I got to do a whole bunch of stuff because we're like accessing this repeatedly. So the integer count. And then we want to go, okay, count minus minus. And then we go, okay, if count is less than equal to 0, then we break the bag, and then we drop the empty bag. If not, we just want to go ahead and save it. Because then we would go, okay, bag dot get compound tag this data dot set integer count. There we go, and that should work. Because the big thing is I want to do with this, I want to fill this thing up with like creepers and stuff and then toss it at people. We're actually going to make it so you can throw the bag too, which would be kind of nice. You won't be able to capture stuff that way, so it's not going to be a Pokeball for those who are going to go, oh, but you're just making a Pokeball looks like a bag. No, you'll be able to release the mob that way. You won't be able to capture the mob that way. The reason we want to make it release that way is I'm going to make a catapult here later, and we're going to catapult mobs at people. Which I might just make the catapult where you can stick mobs in it anyway, so you'll just do like a whole cool thing. But that isn't going to something that's going to happen right away. That's going to be part of the armory mod, and that's going to be a whole thing. So I won't have it updated quickly, and it's going to take a lot of effort to make it work. More than likely, before we get the catapult running, I'm going to do some artillery and mortars first, because those will be easier to program. Catapults, even though they're, if I'm only throwing stone out of it, then it'll be easy. But if I'm going to be throwing entities and stuff out of it, then I got to do a whole bunch of other stuff and make it function. It won't be too hard to do, but it would be tricky. So let's test this guy. If I can unstack my bags. So pick you up. Pick you up. Can I not pick you up? Okay, apparently I gotta shift click the villagers now. Okay, I cannot double pick you up. And this could be just a thing on the villagers, because if we go to each of the villagers, they do have different recipes, and I believe they do save their recipes. So villagers are going to be something that we probably can't pick up. So what we want to then test is if I can find that giant pile of sheep I had. Oh, chickens will work. Okay. Come on. Okay, so this is where we're going to have to run some debug real quick, and I'm just going to do this once just so I get a look at it and see if it's a quick fix, or if I'm going to have to run interaction handlers to do the whole thing. And interaction handlers is probably going to be the best option, and this is what I'm looking for, is this guy right here. So, run over here. Okay, so we get both the MBTs, and we can scroll up. New entity. Yeah, so you see how this is different here? One, we're comparing the wrong tag maps, so we just screwed up there. That's why it's not working. So 2 MBT, and then we want to get compound MBT. Actually, if we get, no, that wouldn't work. But we do want to go like this, and we want to take this, and we want to go, okay, get compound tag MBT, and then get compound tag MBT. That way we're only comparing those MBT tags with each other, and that may fix it. Because if we pop this debugger open, and actually we have to rerun this. So if we come down here, and we take a look at the new entity, which has got a tag size of 2, and the old one, which has got a tag map of 3. They both contain chicken as their save ID, and they both look roughly identical. So if we open this guy up and we open this guy up, no, that's the wrong one. I want to open that one up. So these both have different maps, so they're both called keys of MBT, which is what we want. They both have 19 tags, and their tags both roughly look similar. There's some other things I need to get rid of here, like drop chance needs to go away, persistence require needs to go away. Yeah, there's a few things that need to go bye-bye. This is where I was talking about. There's like a lot of things that have to be removed off this in order to make these. One, the save will go down in size, which there is an actual real need for that, because when you make an item, there's only so much MBT you can put in that item before it'll crash a client. So this is something we have to optimize. Right now we're at like 19 keys, but I do know there's mods that have like 40. If you look at an ICBM missile, this is a great example of it, because I think an ICBM missile has like about 30 keys on it. But death time, a few other things. Make sure the entity isn't dead is something we forgot to do. But did it pick it up this time? No, it did not pick it up. So there is still not enough of a similarity between these two tag sets in order for it to compare perfectly. So you're seeing it will not pick it up. And this is where we were talking about we got to strip a whole bunch of stuff off. So we're going to have to go through a whole bunch of things. I'm just going to call it now, because that's going to just be something where I'm going to have to sit here and like watch TV or something and just manually go through every single entity's save file and figure out what should be saved, what should not be saved. I need to make interaction handlers for things. Because the thing is, you want interaction handlers. So you want to go, okay, if we're picking up a chicken and that chicken has nothing special about it, instead of saving all of its MBT, what we should say just go is, I have a chicken. And that's it. Nothing else. Just, I have a chicken, or I have a cow, or I have a sheep. And then that way you aren't recreating a ton of extra junk data that just didn't need to be saved. Like, we don't need to know anything about the chicken other than we picked up a chicken. The only time you want to keep special data is like, did the chicken have different colored fur? Does he have a custom name? Was he wearing armor? Was it a spider jockey? Or rather a zombie jockey? So there's a little bit of extra stuff that does need to be saved, but not everything needs to be saved about the information. Unique mobs, by the way, if it's a ridden mob, that's something I need to handle as well. And this mod turned out to be a little bit more complicated than I thought it was going to be. But I'm going to leave you with a ton of chickens. start my own KFC or something. Anyways, I'll see you guys later.